Hello everyone, welcome back to Believers CS Academy Bengaluru. This is Daily News Analysis. Today, as usual, we discuss some of the articles important from prelims, mains and interview perspective. The first article is from the front page of Hindu, which discusses about India may increase energy efficiency target for COP30. Okay, so first we'll discuss what are the India's commitments so far and what will be India's future commitments and what is the status of achievements of other countries as well. So India's climate commitments so far. Under the Paris Agreement for UNFCCC, countries must update their nationally determined contributions every 5 years. India updated its NDC in 2022, where it committed to reduce emissions intensity of GDP by 45% from 2005 levels by 2030 and source 50% of its power capacity from non-fossil fuel sources. Remember, not green fuel sources but non-fossil fuel sources. Create a carbon sink of 2 billion tons by 2030. So these were the initial NDCs that India updated in 2022, which called it as Panchamitra. Added to this, there are two more, that is net neutrality, carbon net neutrality by 2070, and one more was there. And what is the progress achieved at the moment? The progress achieved is emission intensity reduced by 33%, which was the initial target when the Paris Climate Agreement was signed, that is 33%. And as of July 2024, 50% of the power capacity already is coming from non-fossil fuel. 50% of the capacity is already coming from non-fossil fuel. So they've already achieved its updated targets as well. So many are hoping for India to increase its targets, update its newer targets. Next, COP30 and global context. COP30 will be hosted in Belém, Brazil in November 2025. We don't understand. Belém, Brazil in November 2025. What is COP? COP is nothing but Conference of the Parties, which is the highest decision-making body or the meeting of UNFCCC. What is UNFCCC? United Nations Framework for Combating Climate Change, which is the brainchild of Rio Trio or Rio Earth Summit of 1992. Under this, there are three organizations which came out of it. That is, one is UNFCCC, that is United Nations Framework on Climate Change. Another one is UNCCD, that is United Nations Convention on Combating Desertification. And other one is UNCBD, United Nations Convention on Biodiversity. Okay. Then, so Brazil as a co-president will assess why countries fell short in certain NDC goals. Even if the current pledges are fully achieved, the planet is still on the track for 3 degrees Celsius rise by 2100. By 2100, the temperature at the current rate is going to cross the 3 degrees Celsius mark. And what is the target of Paris Climate Agreement? That is to keep it between 1.5 degree to 2 degrees Celsius. According to Paris Climate Agreement, if the temperature breaches or even if it reaches this 1.52 degrees Celsius, it will have implications that are non-reversible. Okay, it means the earth is going to change forever. But now, as it is, we are on track to reach 3 degrees Celsius. So if there will be irreversible consequences if it reaches 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius, just imagine what will be the consequences if it reaches 3 degrees Celsius. Then developments in other countries, that is European Union long-term goal of net zero by 2050 and the proposal for 90% emission cuts by 2040 compared to 1990. However, the 2035 targets were delayed due to France and Germany. Okay. Next, Australia, it updated its NDCs aiming to cut 62 to 70% of 2005 level emission by 2035. And USA, one of the major escapist countries in the world, especially after the Trump administration took over. So it exited the Paris Climate Agreement. According to Donald Trump, climate change is a hoax. Okay, he says that climate change is a myth. He says that climate change is a propaganda by leftists. That is what Donald Trump believes. But contrary to what he says, climate change is a reality and it is happening. China is yet to announce the updated NDCs. So you can see among all the countries, India has been the best performer in relation to climate change. Next, India is likely to move ahead of COP30. So India is expected to raise its efficiency targets in its updated NDC submissions at 2030, COP30, and exploring bilateral clean energy agreements with the developed countries for carbon credit sharing is also on the card. Example, joint crediting mechanism with Japan and India carbon market to be operational by 2026, covering 13 major sectors with emissions intensity targets. Next, challenges and the constraints. That is, developed nations have been reluctant to provide adequate climate finance, and developing countries, including India, argue that they still rely on fossil fuels for growth. Next, significant emission reductions may depend on the joint investments and carbon credit mechanisms. So, it requires cooperation between both developed countries and developing countries. So they have to bridge the real differences and come together to achieve this target of 1.5 to 2 degrees Celsius. Okay. Next, second article is an editorial from the Hindu which talks about GST 2.0 and how it is going to be helpful in the future. That is, getting GST 2.0 to run like a well-oiled machine. This is written by Chandrajit Banerjee, Director General of Confederation of India Industry, CII. So he talks about getting the best out of GST 2.0 by enhancing the industries. So historic reform in indirect taxation. He terms GST 2.0 as a historic reforms. According to him, he says that at the 56th GST Council meeting on September 3, 2025, landmark reforms were termed GST 2.0 were approved. Reform simplified India's indirect tax system with major implications for consumers, MSMEs, industries, and the wider economy, and also major beneficiaries from the agriculture sector, such as farmers. Simplified rate structure. Old four slabs, that is 5, 12, 18, 28, were replaced with 5% for essential, 18% for standard rate, and 40% for luxury and sin goods. And over 99% of the goods and services are now falling under 0%, 5%, or 18%, with only 1% of the goods in the highest category, few of which are uh, 350, more than 350cc bikes, tobacco, helicopter owners or helicopters, and cars with greater than 14 lakh or price, 40 lakh rupees price. All these are under 40% tax slab. But most of the essential, most of the daily need goods were under 0%, were under 5%, were under 18%. So daily use goods such as toiletries, small appliances, FMCG items were shifted to lower slabs. Some of them were almost in 0% slab. Next, what will be the consumer benefit? Obviously, you can see without the taxation, with a 0% tax, they will be cheaper. Direct and visible savings for households, especially for middle and low income groups. Expected to moderate inflation as many goods that were taxed at 12 to 18% now attract 5% or less. Next is gains for industry and MSMEs. What will be the gains for industry and MSMEs? That is, the raw materials they are going to buy will become lower, as a meaning there will be lower input costs and reduced litigation, and simpler compliance norms, that is stock adjustments without full relabeling, faster refunds and clearer classification, meaning it eases or increases ease of doing business. And also relief for sectors previously hit by inverted duties such as FMCG, textiles, small vehicles, cements and farm equipment, which were previously hit by inverted duty structure, meaning the raw materials attracted larger GST compared to the finished goods, compared to the finished GST goods. This is called as inverted duty structure. Okay. Next, several companies, including the public sector, insurers, pledge to pass on the savings to consumers. So it is going to bring a virtuous cycle. Okay, for consumers, for industries, for insurers, and investment. Okay. Next, CII's role in advocacy and transition. Since December 2024, CII has been pushing for rate rationalization classification clarity, and reduced compliance burdens. And in the post reforms, CII is conducting awareness sessions nationwide to help firms, especially the MSMEs, to adapt. Then engagement with authorities on labeling, packaging, and transition of stocks to ensure smooth rollout. Next, what will be the economic impact of this one? It is expected to boost consumption because there will be lesser out of pocket expenditure for essential goods, meaning there will be more money at hand for consumption, especially in rural and semi urban areas where the price sensitivity is very high. Inflation moderation in key consumption items is going to help or boost in consumption. MSMEs to benefit from improved margins and working capital, and analysts project an additional 1% GDP growth through higher demand. So there will be short-term revenue losses because government is foregoing almost 75,000 crore rupees because of the GST changes. But short-term revenue loss for central states, that is tens of thousands of crores, but will be offset by greater consumption, better compliance, formalization of economy, and long-term fiscal buoyancy. So, but there are certain challenges. The author says that there are certain challenges which has to be addressed. That is with respect to implementation challenges. That is ensuring that tax cut benefits end consumers and not captured by supply chains. Next, strengthen administrative systems. That is GST network, state tax departments, metrology, and labeling authorities have to be strengthened according to the new norms. And special support for MSMEs with limited resources for the compliances. And need for feedback loops to address classification confusion and unsold stock and packaging issues. So, in conclusion, author calls it a defining reform, that GST 2.0 is a structural transformation and not just a tax cut. And the success depends on trust and cooperation between the government, industry, and the consumers. So, CII commits to capacity building, advocacy, and ensuring ground level success so that GST 2.0 delivers its full promise. Okay, this is. And next article is about the Trump administration's new $1 lakh fee for H1B visas. So we already made a dedicated video on what is this H1B visa and what will be its impact on H1B impact of H1B visa fee on Indians, USA as well as India-USA relations. Today we'll discuss how it is going to impact IT firms and big tech models. How Trump's H1B visa or fee threatens India's IT and big tech models. Not only how it impacts India, but also how it impacts US as well. So, what does the policy do? What is the policy? It imposes 1 lakh or $100,000 annual fee per new H1B visa. Okay, only for new H1B visa, very important. It is not applicable for the people who are continuing the H1B visa. It targets labor arbitrage model where Indian engineers are brought to the US at lower cost. I have explained in the video detail what happens in why Indian laborers are lower compared to the local laborers in USA. Next, it applies only to new applications and not existing visas. So, why it hits India's IT firms hard? What was the traditional model? In the traditional model, Indian IT firms such as TCS, Infosys and Wipro relied on cheap H1B filings, few $1,000s each. Filings, the few $1,000s each. Imported engineers from India and offered clients a competitive rates. Okay, they used to cut cost in employees. They used to cut cost in H1B visa holders so that they can offer clients a competitive rates. Who are the clients? For example, the company where I was working for Tech Mahindra, the client was Bombardier Aerospace. So what they used to do is they used to hire Indians in Canada at a lower cost compared to the local people at a lower cost, and whatever the cost cutting they were doing, taking out the profit margin, then they were going to provide services at a lower cost at a competitive price so that the tender goes to Tech Mahindra. So that is what they are cutting down the cost in employees so that they get better competitive rates for their clients. Next, new reality is now this cheap H1B filings has been increased. That is, at $1,000 per visa, mass filings are uneconomical for these Indian IT firms. So firms face two bad choices. One is rise prices, that is lose competitiveness versus US firms. Other is shift offshore, that is move entire functions abroad, cutting even more US jobs. Okay, so there is two options. One is for them only, that is we can increase the prices, make it uncompetitive. That is the tender we are going to give for the clients will be uncompetitive, it will be costlier, or else they can take or shift away their whole firm back to India or back to any other countries, where it is not only going to hurt themselves but also hurt USA. How? There will be fewer jobs, there will be lesser jobs. They are not going to hire neither Indians nor USA people in USA. Okay. Next, MSME in IT services will be the hardest hit as they lack the cash reserves of the giant companies. Okay, MSMEs in IT services and also the startups in IT services will be the hardest hit because they do not have the cash reserves of the giants like TCS, Tech Mahindra, Accenture, etc. Next, what will be its implications for US tech companies? Okay, that is the implication for Indian firms. What will be its implications for US tech companies? That is, until now, HR treated H1B applicants like lottery tickets. Now each petition becomes a boardroom level decision. Next, what will be the benefits? That is, it filters out frivolous filings, forces focus on exceptional hires. Okay, so now the filing has become very tedious. With this price tag also comes tedious process. So what they will do, instead of hiring Indians at this cost, they are going to shift their focus on hiring the local people, who the Americans, meaning they don't have to go through this tedious filings and also they don't have to pay this huge amount of visa fee. Next, risks are startups and mid-sized firms may be priced out. Giants like Google or Microsoft can absorb the cost more easily, and talent concentration is going to be concentrated at the big tech companies only. Next is potential slowdown in innovation across the wider ecosystem. Because what was driving USA? The growth that was driven in USA was mainly because of the talent pool that it attracted. And the talent pool was not concentrated in few tech companies. It was concentrated, or it was diverse, or it was dispersed throughout all the companies, such as small startups to big giants. As a result, the innovation was always on the high, which drew or uh, which resulted in economic growth of USA. But this will, because of this, the startups are going to lose. If the startups are going to lose, the innovation is going to get hurt. If the innovation is going to hurt, obviously the economy of USA is also going to go slow down. So, talent and innovation risks. That is, 65% of US IT workforce is on H1B visa, which is up from 32% in 2003. And the US universities produce thousands of STEM grads, but unemployment among the CS grads is 6.1%, computer engineers is 7.5%. Still, America has long attracted the world's best students and researchers. Despite this unemployment rate, it attracted the largest number of youths in USA because they always saw dream, they always saw opportunities in USA. And what will be the collateral damage? International students, that is approximately contributing $40 billion every year, may look to Canada, UK, Australia instead. Instead of contributing $40 billion to USA, now they may go to other countries. Then USA risks losing its competitive edge to China and rivals in artificial intelligence, semiconductors, and emerging deep technologies. Next, the blunt instrument problem. That is, the policy is a sledgehammer and not a scalpel. What is a scalpel? Scalpel is used by a precision surgeon, which is going to do a particular jobs. But here, this policy is being used as sledgehammer. Okay, it is not focusing on any one particular people, any one particular section of the society. It is focusing on all the H1B visa holders, be it Indians, Chinese, be it students, be it employees, or be it workers. So it is a sledgehammer. So what is the missed opportunity here? They have, meaning they could have pegged fees at a salary level for in low wages IT versus high end AI. Could have exempted elite US university graduates. Could have had lower rates for cutting edge R&D roles. But instead of this, they resulted in sledgehammer, meaning everyone is attracting the same fee. So what will be its unintended implications? Instead, a flat 100k fee penalizes both routine IT holders or coders and world class researchers alike. Okay, so unintended consequences of this. One is offshoring boom. Unintended consequences means negatives for USA. What are the negatives? One is offshore booming, offshoring of boom or offshoring boom. That is, companies may move whole functions abroad rather than hire H1BBs, or which is going to result in cutting US jobs. Second is market distortion. That is, large tech firms absorb the cost and the startups cannot. As a result, it will lead to innovation bottlenecks. It will lead to sidelining of startups. It will lead to closure of startups. Next, global competition. Canada, UK, Australia lower the barriers as USA raises them, which is going to result in brain drain from USA to these countries. Next, geopolitical risk. That is, talent loss strengthens China and others in strategic tech sectors. So, USA is going to lose that innovative edge which it possessed all along the years. Bigger picture, the move reflects a shift, that is, protect domestic jobs versus attract global talent. The USA is moving towards protect domestic jobs under this MAGA campaign, that is, Make America Great Again campaign of Trump and its supporters. Next, it addresses real grievances about wage suppression and US workers displacement, but it risks eroding the decades of US soft power and innovation leadership built on opportunities or openness to global talent. Next, for India, the policy threatens one of its biggest export industries, that is IT services, and forces a strategic rethink in delivery models. Okay, this particular issue or the challenge can also be converted into opportunity by India. Instead of focusing on just service delivery, India can focus on product management. India can focus on producing the products instead of becoming just a service provider. What countries like China and South Korea did when their service sector, when their export sector were hampered, they turned towards building products rather than becoming just service providers. So India and Indian companies too can use this as an opportunity to become a product manufacturers rather than just service providers, rather than just consultancy providers. Okay, so we have to wait and see, will India reap the benefits out of it or India is going to succumb to it. Hopefully we can just wish that India reaps benefits out of it and becomes a product manufacturing hub or product manufacturing giant like China and South Korea. Next, moving to the prelims pointer. The first point is about TN Shore, and the article was World Bank to fund Tamil Nadu village councils for mangrove plantation. Very important. How global institution is involved in local level development. The program or the function or the program is or the scheme is TN Shore. TN Shore Coastal Restoration Mission. Tamil Nadu Coastal Restoration Mission or TN Shore was approved in September 2025. The project cost is around rupees 1675 crore, of which 1000 crore rupees will be funded by World Bank and the rest by the state government of Tamil Nadu. Objective is strengthen Tamil Nadu's coastal resilience and economy. And what is the key goals of TN Shore? Restore 30,000 hectares of seascapes, 30,000 hectares of seascapes, safeguard endangered species like turtles and dugongs in the Gulf of Mannar region, and promote sustainable practices such as ecotourism and plastic waste management, enhance bioshells or bioshields, that is natural barriers, through mangrove plantation and restoration, community-led mangrove plantation, that is World Bank funds will flow directly to village mangrove councils, not center, not state, not higher level, but to local village mangrove councils. So it is down to bottom up approach. Structure of council is local community member as the president and forest range officer as the member secretary, and it also includes a community procurement plan has been submitted, allowing allocations of up to rupees 8 lakh without quotas or quotations or tenders. The target of this scheme is 1000 hectares of mangroves restored, including 300 hectares of new plantation and 700 hectares of degraded mangroves are restored. So initial corpus is rupees 38 crore earmarked for this activity, and the current Tamil Nadu mangrove cover is around 41 square kilometers, 1.19 square kilometer is very dense, 25 is moderately dense, 16 square kilometer is open mangroves. That is TN Shore program, how international institutions are involved in local level development, which involves a component of local biodiversity. Okay, next, rare benign tumor in rock python treated successfully in Bengaluru. Okay, what is rock python? It is a snake species where this snake species was found with a benign tumor. What is tumor? It is nothing but a cancer tumor. So this was recently treated in Bengaluru. So that is why it is in news. So it is first case in Karnataka. That is a captive rock python in Adumalleshwara Zoo in Chitradurga underwent successful surgery for benign tumor. This is the first reported case in Karnataka with no prior documentation of such tumors in rock pythons in the state. Rock pythons are listed as near threatened on the IUCN Red List. So this is rock python, which is famously called as Hebbavu in Kannada. This is the rock python. This rock python was treated recently. This is the tumor. This is where the tumor was there, and this was treated recently. So we'll discuss more about this. Previous instances, similar rare cases have been recorded elsewhere, not in Karnataka, but in Mumbai in 2024, where a python was successfully treated for benign tumor. And surgical intervention, that the snake unable to eat due to the tumor in its lower jaw was shifted to people for animals hospitals, that is PFA Hospital Bengaluru on July 3. Veterinarians used carbon dioxide laser to remove the tumor affected tissue, and assisted feeding was provided until the recovery, and the tumor's location was critical. Without treatment, the python would have starved to death. So this is a very significant move. So recovery and rehabilitation, that python regained hunting ability after surgery. After 2 months of intensive care, it was returned to zoo. Adumalleshwara Zoo confirmed that the snake has fully recovered and is now living normally. Adumalleshwara Zoo is present in Chitradurga. Next, conservation significance is the successful treatment highlights the growing role of veterinary science in wildlife conservation and importance of specialized care for threatened species and potential for replicating advanced treatment protocols for rare wildlife health conditions. Very important and a very interesting topic as well. Next, moving on to the third article in the prelims pointer is about Adi Yuva Fellowship and Adi Karma Yogi Volunteers Program. The war is both initiatives are part of Adi Karma Yogi Abhiyan launched by the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. The ministry becomes very important. Adi Karma Yogi initiative has been launched by Ministry of Tribal Affairs in partnership with United Nations Agency for India. United Nations agencies in India. It is again a curious case of world institutions involved in local development. This was the case with TN Shore, where World Bank involved with Tamil Nadu government. Similar thing is happening here as well. So aim is, since it is launched by tribal ministry, obviously it is going to empower tribal youth, enhance skill development, strengthen last mile service delivery, and promote grassroots change. Next, Adi Yuva Fellowship. Purpose: a first of its kind program to empower tribal youth through structured learning, mentorship, and career development. Next, the key features. Duration is 12-month paid fellowship. Learning and experience, it combines knowledge building, on-the-job job experience, on-hand job experience, and reflective practice. And the supports and benefits out of this is monthly allowances will be provided, comprehensive life and health insurance will be provided, access to high quality UN and commercial learning platforms will be provided as well. So very good scheme you can say. The linkages is it connects fellowships with the skilling and employability schemes such as Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, 4.0, NAPS, National Pension Scheme, and PM Vikasit Bharat Rozgar Yojana. So not only the skilling, but also they are connected with employment opportunities as well. So as soon as the internship or fellowship is done, they are provided with the employment opportunities elsewhere. Next, selection and placement. Competitive selection process will be there. Just because you have gone through the internship or fellowship doesn't mean you will be getting jobs. You have to be competitive there. You have to perform really well. And then fellows are placed in UN agencies at national, state, and district levels. Next, Adi Karma Yogi Volunteer Program. The purpose is designed to equip tribal youth as catalyst for grassroots change. So, The previous program was to empower the tribal youth. Here it is to empower tribal youth. For what? For grassroots change. It strengthens last mile service delivery in the tribal regions, and the key features are it is supported by UNPFA, United Nations Fund for Population, and deployment is in 82 United Nations community volunteers across 82 blocks in 13 districts of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan. Engagement is 2-month intensive grassroots program, and the roles of this program is support village vision 2030 planning, conduct awareness drives, facilitate outreach and improve access to government schemes and services. So significance is it promotes tribal youth empowerment, skill enhancement, and employment opportunities, strengthens participation in governance at local levels, enhances effectiveness of national schemes in tribal regions. So these are the articles which I want to discuss for the day. So if you learned anything new in this particular video, then please hit the like button, comment on it, and also share with your friends. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss a notification. We'll be uploading videos, shorts on everyday basis, where we'll be covering important topics, hot topics, and topics in news, and also news articles and newspaper analysis. So if you have any suggestions for me or if you have any doubts regarding this particular video, write in the comment box. With this, I will end the video. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.